welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, or let's be honest, tonight, I'm going to be doing part 2 of the story I did earlier about the guy who ended up kicking the girl to the curb, his fiancée, because he found out that she was talking about her ex and how she's obviously hung up on him and all that. And as a recap, that's like how the guy's been with his girl for a few years. They're engaged. At a party they were hosting, he overheard his fiancée talking about her ex to her friend and saying that he was the best lover she ever had and all these other things. And it really hit home with him and it's impacted him big time in terms of his attraction to her, being able to perform in the bedroom, all that. And he's really questioning whether he should stay with her at this point because he realizes she's obviously still hooked up on her ex or attached to him. And realizing, obviously, that she's settled for this guy, which they all do when they realize they can't get the bad boy, the guy they really want to be the guy that marries them, raises the kids, white picket fence. They pick the nice guy, has resources, who'll be there for her, who will be put on the pedestal, all that. And we know darn well what happens to those guys if they don't stop their nice guy kiss-ass ways. And now we're following on part 2 here, how this whole thing plays out with her and all that. And you do recall, because I only did this a few hours ago, how she was really hung up on the ex. He dumped her for another woman. That does some major damage to Gal's emotions and confidence. And when they started dating, she was still hung up on him. Not a good place to be. So anyway, part 2. He says here, it all came to a head last night. She just came out and asked me if I do not love her anymore, and that all I could tell her was that a very large part of me still did, but that what she said had really made me so that another part of me just didn't anymore. Well, that probably caused her to have an inner meltdown because, again, she was rejected by the last guy. They started a larger conversation that I won't bore you with, but ultimately it came down to me saying that I would have heard that he was just better at something or more attentive to something or was able to do something that I would have felt like I could have worked on it. I would have listened to anything she wanted to work on or any technique or anything else like that she shared with me. But to know that I was never going to measure up simply because of physical issue was not something I thought I could ever get over anytime soon, or even for that matter. It wasn't just about the size of his you-know-what or the size of you-know-what. You know what it is. It's about her attachment to that guy. End of story. He rejected her. That's what it's really all about. I was even honest and said that if this was a one-night stand she had or some random guy who was just huge, I might be able to get past that. But knowing that it was a guy who she was still madly in love with when I met her, and only after time did she even start to come around, that was just more than I could handle. Correct. That's what it's all about. That's what a lot of people don't understand, because a lot of people were giving him shit in the comment section about that. It's not about the freaking size of the guys you-know-what. It's about her. She kept trying to tell me how much better I was at everything else and that I should not throw away a lifetime over one aspect. It's not about that. And of course she focused on him with his resources and providing. I told her that one aspect sadly was just too high for me. Not all things are equal, and that honestly it is a mental failing on my part, but whether it is genetics or a learned trait or whatever that was, I needed to be my spouse's best, and she has already made it clear that I can never be. It's just about that. I try my best to be gentle. I try to take all the blame of saying that I knew that my attitude was probably not healthy, but it was who I am. By the way, as I'm typing this, as though there was a clean conversation, it wasn't. There was a lot of crying by both of us. Don't cry in front of your girl, dude. Now you all know the kind of guy we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a nice guy and more blue-pilled who cries in front of his girl, and that's a bad idea. Hopefully he learns not to do that. This is not a happy ending or even a satisfying one. I'm beyond effed up in the head over this entire situation. Everybody's Christmas is ruined. We had a big family gathering that we both attended together, and now we have to somehow break it to our families what has happened. You're in your late 20s. You're a grown-ass man. It's your business. It's not your job to explain what you do with your love life and potentially marriage life to everybody else. You can tell them didn't work out. I'm healing. Irreconcilable differences. She was in love with her ex. Whatever you want to tell them. This alone has caused me massive stress because my parents loved her, and what in the hell am I going to say is the reason we were not together? It's your business. She didn't cheat, and if I say that I felt like she was hung up on her ex, she will obviously deny it, and she will tell him the truth. It's effed up no matter how this goes down. Well, even if she told them that, at the end of the day, it's not their business. And it's not, you don't need to listen to them if they tell you just to forget all that and marry the girl and all that, because remember, they also want to be grandparents one day. They want to have a big wedding and invite all their friends and show off. Believe me, a lot of parents are pretty selfish when it comes to weddings and grandkids. In the end, I feel like it's a massive failure. I feel like a failure as a man because of not living up to comparison, and I feel like a failure because I wasn't able to man up and either get over it. No, that's bullshit. I'm telling you right here. You marry her, it's a mistake. You having doubts is your gut telling you something's wrong, and it isn't about the size of your dick. It's about her and her attachment to that guy. She has begged me to go to couples counseling, and initially I said no because at the end of the day, what does it change? Well, there you go. It doesn't change anything. It just manipulates the guy to stay with the girl. That's what happens. Marriage counselors always side with the woman. Almost always. We could talk about every single thing I can try and look at things from a different way. At the end of the day, the woman who I wanted to marry just told one of her friends that no matter what I do, I'll never be as good as her ex. Correct. It isn't just about the loving. It's about the whole deal. I just cannot see 5 years from now ever being okay with this. But because she legitimately seems heartbroken, I agreed to go, but that does not mean I will keep going. Today I moved out a lot of my stuff, and I'm going to stay with a coworker for a few days until I can get a place for myself. She has been with her sister all day. So he's moving out. Well, why waste your time with the counseling now because you moved out? He's serious here. She must be having the biggest freaking meltdown. First rejected by her bad boy ex, now rejected by the nice guy. He says, I feel like shit. Thank you to everyone who took the time to type out a response. I honestly have tried to read everything as I didn't have to reply very many. The bitch of all this is that I still love her. There's so much of me right now that wants to pick up the phone and call her and beg her to come back. Smack. No begging, dude. Of course you still love her. You've been with her for a long time. Okay? I don't blame them there. Most guys can't switch it off like that. The emotions are going to be a roller coaster, but your gut is telling you this is a bad idea. Listen to your gut, sir. It says as an edit. Well, once again, I posted this and went away for a while. I went to see my friend to see Mortal Engines and to dinner, and we've been talking for a long time, and we started rereading a while ago. It's going to take me forever to read, and once again, I don't think responding individually will ever happen because of the large number of posts and private messages. But thank you all for reading and responding. Nobody can respond to all these messages on Reddit. He also says, I guess I do want to share one thing I spoke with her about. We were having our very long conversation. I presented her with a scenario for her to compare. I know her well enough to know that comparing body parts or S-word prowess isn't going to impact her the same way it would me. So I put the scenario to her like this. I said, what if you walked in and overheard me talking to my friend Tim and you heard this? Jill is great, but she will never understand me and comfort me the way Tiffany did. But it's not Jill's fault. Tiffany is just the smartest, non-compassionate person I've ever known, and Jill just isn't as smart. Then she would comfort me saying those things about her that my response to her would have been, I love you for all your other qualities. Nobody ever makes a sandwich like you do, and I think long term you won't gouge me for my money. Well, there you go. Saying in a different way with if he was talking about another woman. Saying another woman was better than her in certain things. And yes, that would set her off. At first, she tried to say this was a totally different issue, but once we talked more about it, she finally agreed it is because of the way we both approach and value SCX. She ultimately admitted that this would really hurt her feelings, but she said she would not break up with me over it. Well, because she wants to get married, that's why. And she knows 30 is coming along, and she wants him to get back with her. I then responded that even in my make-believe scenario, which by the way I would never say to anyone out loud because I loved, she could improve her level of education and learn to be more compassionate. Edit number 3. It says, if anyone ever reads this, then I want to add one last thing. People have been telling me how much of a whiny bitch I am. That's one of the more kind things they said, because I can't get over someone else in the world having a bigger you-know-what than me. It's not about the size of the you-know-what. Not going to lie and say I'm thrilled but I'm not dumb enough to think that I have a giant magic wand or anything. I grown up believing what I now know to be a lie, that women don't care about size. Newsflash, guys, they care about size. But even if you have the size, you got to know what the hell you're doing with it. And obviously it's how you make them feel emotionally, which leads to the bedroom pleasure. But to hear that there's no girl out there that says that she wouldn't take a dude with an 8 or 9 inch, you know what, compared to 4 inches or something. Don't buy that bullshit. And you ladies that watch this, the 4% of you that are cool, watch my channel, you know what I'm talking about. Some don't, but obviously some do. Bullshit, they all do. And my ex is one of those that obviously did. But even with that, ultimately, I might have been able to get over it if it's just just a matter of fact. But after that, no matter what I did or how much I loved her or anything, that I was never going to be as good as what has bothered me since. Yes, size is obviously a big part of it, but I hadn't heard that I would never be the lover. I think I might have been okay. Well, not okay, but at least a relationship killing. Yes, I overvalue the SCX. I get that. It is very important to me, and well, frankly, I want to be wanted as much as I want someone, if that makes any sense. Yes, I know whoever I date in the future will mostly have had someone that was bigger or better or whatever, but I really hope they would not be still hung up on it a few years later. Right, that's the point. Now the final update, and where this thing, how it ends and where it leads and all that. He says, I wasn't going to post anymore, but I'm still getting daily direct messages wanting to know how things are going. It's amazing how invested people get in these stories. I do appreciate the kind words and concerns, but just so anyone who cares can know, it is over. Smart way to go, my man. I'm sure it wasn't easy, but it's the right decision. I went to counseling with her on 3 different occasions, and honestly, I tried to have an open mind about it. But at the end of the day, the obstacle was just too much to overcome. I even gave her the opportunity to walk back her statement or amend it and do whatever she wanted to do with it. But instead, she just doubled down in a way. I think by the time she was very frustrated as well. He says, neither of us are really happy about this. It's been an absolute nightmare for me trying to avoid telling people and family why we are no longer together. Of course, I tried the old it's none of your business to some of them, but that failed spectacularly, and since I refused to tell them, they decided she cheated on me and started spreading that around. I had to do a lot of damage control over that. They probably know this guy, know that he's a nice guy and all that, and therefore they could probably easily get him to talk or speculate something else to get him to do damage control, but it is none of their business. I decided to continue on with therapy on a personal level because honestly this entire thing has really messed with my head and I have no self-esteem left at all. Bro, you should have self-esteem. You do well for yourself. I'm sure you have good qualities. You have the balls to end it with her, so that shows you value yourself and you have strength. You just gotta be less emotional and less of the nice guy. You started dating her and she was crying and hung up on her ex. Literally, he was in the other story, he was there-thering her when she was crying over her ex that she wasn't getting over. No, that's nice guy shit. Don't ever do that. You should have parted ways with her. Get over your ex and call me in a couple of years. And even then, I wouldn't have done that. It says, I've only seen her once since we separated, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. She is now, justifiably so, in the angry stage. She is furious with me and has called me everything you can imagine and even made up some words. So that, guys, is the end of part 2 of this story here. And I'm going to say this. He made the right decision, and it was not over the size of his you-know-what or the other guys. It was about her attachment to the other guy, and he knew it. He just didn't have a way of explaining that. And in a way, I still think he doesn't totally get that the way I do. Because I'm 45 years old, plenty of relationships, and I've heard thousands and thousands of these stories. There's a pattern here. And you guys can figure it out. I'm sure most of you. She's hung up on him. End of story. She settled for this guy. No guy wants to be settled for. As no woman wants to be settled for. If a gal found out that the guy that she's engaged to was dumped by his ex and has hung up on her and all these other things and found out that he was saying to other friends, hey, the ex is better at this, better than that, that would really hurt her and realize this is not the right guy for me. Because the fact that she was just talking about the ex says everything. He's still in her mind, still in her heart. You got to cut ties. This guy, he did the right thing. And if anybody wants to hate on him saying that he's insecure or weak because it's about the size of, you know what, don't listen to him. But he does need to work on himself and become a lot more masculine and more strong. We're talking about bad English here. Stronger. But he did demonstrate strength by kicking her to the curb, trusting his gut. So I respect that. Now he's got to work on himself so he doesn't end up with someone like this. And get rid of a lot of these nice guy behaviors, but he'll be fine and all that. And yes, there's going to be other dudes out there, because this guy's obviously a relationship guy, that obviously were better than the sack, had bigger you-know-whats, but again, it's about the attachment that girl had to the ex. End of story. So I'm glad he kicked her to the curb, and take it day by day. You know, hit the gym, work out, better yourself. He will feel better. But he should not rush into a relationship, and he should not get back with her. And of course, she's hating on him now because she's probably figured, you wasted my prime years. Because now she's close to 30, and now she has to lock in another dude. And sadly, there'll be some other sucker that she'll lock in, and round we go, and there'll be another story on Reddit. Now, a few quick comments here to wrap this up. One guy says here, best of luck moving forward. Her reaction to the situation is a big flag, that you guys have systemic problems that are much deeper than having an ex that she enjoyed having the you-know-what with. It's good that you realized that, took steps to work through it, and then moved on when that became clear. In time, it will sting less, but this will be a lot better for you down the road. Best of luck. Absolutely. Another guy says here, he dodged the kind of bullet that chases Mario around. I mean, let's review. The OP's ex blabbed to her friend about how her ex is the best lover she ever had in a semi-public setting with no alcohol involved. This was, as far as we know, the first indication he had had anything that was lacking in their sex life. Number 2, when confronted about it, she tried to deny it. When that didn't work, she tried to comfort the OP with stuff like how he's a good provider and would make a good husband. After that, she would not talk about it when the OP tried to talk about it. She made good excuses, but still make an effort. And 3, and now this stuff about how she doubted down in a way, whatever that means, and now it's over. She's the angry one, F her. He says to the guy who wrote this, if you're looking at this, don't let this chick take up any more real estate in your head. Work hard with your therapy to evict her. You don't want someone who blabs like that, who tries to gaslight you, who doesn't really value your feelings and seems to mainly see you as a wallet. Be grateful you could get her out by showing her true colors this early. You can easily find a chick better than that. Exactly. But if this guy continues on this nice guy persona, he's going to find another chick that's going to kind of do the same thing and settle. So just keep that in mind. And last one, this guy says here, her being mad at you should really set your mind at ease. That breaking up is the right thing for you to do. She's not the person you want to be with long term, and though it sucks now, it would suck worse if you had this in a couple of years down the road after the wedding, when it became a legal matter on top of everything else. Best wishes, man. Things will turn out for the better. Yes. Things will turn out for the better. And thank the Lord some people saw the real reason why he did this, aside from me, because a lot of people didn't. A lot of people saw this as a giant dick issue, and that's not at all. So I wish this guy the best, and he made the right choice. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below what you think about this. And guys, like I said before, you haven't done so already, definitely subscribe to this channel if you're watching this for the first time. And if you are a subscriber, definitely subscribe to my other channels, SSM Clips and Strong Successful Male. I'm trying to really spread the word around here, but in the community, really help the community grow. And the more you guys subscribe to my other channels, YouTube will think, hey, this guy's hot. We're going to promote him, and more bros can join, sign up, and learn some things and help out their lives. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.